for your Helios Micro Water today and mention the word freedom to get 10% off of 10 bottles or more. That's Helios Micro Water. Water for life.
Are we on lag time here? No, we're not. And we're also sponsored by Willpowered Fit Training. And if you go to willpoweredfittraining.webs, that is willpowered fit with 2 T. Oh, actually, if you just spell fit in trainings.webs.com, you will get there. Willpowered Fit Training consists of workouts that are not too overbearing. They're meant to tone, sculpt, and help you gain strength. There is no better investment than investing into your own body. Will is awesome. He's in great shape. He has everything to show for what his program can do. Again, you can go to willpoweredfittraining.webs.com, or you can call him directly at 954-600-8332. And if you mention freedom, you get your first class free. Give Will a call today.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, at this point we'd like to introduce calling guest Vince Urrabazo from The Vindicated Show on Spreaker. You can find him online at www.spreaker.com/The Vindicated Show. And here he is. Give him a warm welcome, Mr. Vince Urrabazo from The Vindicated Show. Yeah, man. You're good. Hold on one second. All right, yeah, now I can hear you. Hey, Vince, how you doing, buddy?
All right, well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, thank you, and welcome to the show. It's really a pleasure to speak with you. I've been looking forward to speaking to you for a while now. I actually came across your show when I first, I was just telling my co-host here, Joe, that I came across your show a few months back when I first discovered Spreaker. So, first thing I did was, start, because the whole reason why I started my Spreaker account was because I was looking for other podcasters to listen to. I wasn't even podcasting yet. So I came across your show. I dug the content, so you were probably one of the first ones I started following and listening. So I really dig your show, and what I was telling about what I like about it is that, obviously you're a libertarian and you're politically minded, but your show's kind of not only driven by that, but other subjects and topics that you're interested in. So I thought that the show was pretty unique because of that, and just fun to listen to overall. So yeah, man, really cool stuff. What do you have coming up in the future?
What do I have coming up? Well, first off, I want to say thanks for having me on. This is the first time I've had a fan or a listener, which is a weird thing, having me on their podcast. So thanks a lot for that. And I appreciate what you're doing, because I know it does take a lot of work to do a podcast. For some people, it's a hobby, but from what I hear, your podcast sounds really great. But what I have going on, Tuesday I have a guest. Her name is Tiffany Madison. She works for Liberty.me, and she is a co-contributor there, and she'll be on. She is a mostly libertarian, like the rest of us, like-minded people with common sense. But she'll be on Tuesday. We'll talk about the midterms and how Republicans had pretty much a landslide, and how most of the country has gone red, or has leaned more conservative to the conservative side, and kind of not a surprising victory for the conservatives, but I guess I don't want to say that Republicans that we have in office nowadays are any better than Democrats, but in my opinion, Democrats are the worst end of politics, of the political parties. So she'll be on to talk about libertarianism and the midterms, which is I'm excited to talk about, because really the midterms, 2014 midterms that happened this past Tuesday, were really historic in many, many ways. And I noticed your topic is on justice tonight, and a lot of justice, of good justice, finally is being served because of the midterms. And slowly, it's going to slowly happen, but we're going to start seeing certain prison sentences reduced for drug possession, and the midterms kind of showed that a lot of states are leaning towards medical marijuana. And she'll be on to talk about all that good stuff and liberty and freedom, which is starting to become very popular. So thanks for asking me.
Right on. Yeah, man, that's great. And I look forward to listening to that episode because it's definitely right up my alley. Let me ask you, if you don't mind, how old are you?
I am 24 years old.
Oh, wow.
Right on. That's awesome. That's awesome. Because I knew you were a young guy, and I'm really happy. I'm seeing it here in my own state of South Florida. All around me, a lot of my friends are younger than me for the most part. By 5-10 years, give or take. So it's really cool to see, kind of the younger generation as well. Not to make myself sound like an old man, because
Yeah, but 24, we weren't thinking about this at 24.
Absolutely not. So it's so cool and inspiring, and just a beautiful thing. I'm sure you've already noticed it yourself and have commented on it before about how much more politically awake our country's become over the last 5-10 years, and the fact that the majority of those people are libertarian minded is just really kind of inspirational and gives me a lot of hope. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because that's exactly I hang out with people my age, of course, and a little bit younger than me, and it's really interesting. It's very telling, really, to see the mindset of the youth and the younger generation, particularly millennials. They know how much this government and governments across the world have bullshitted them in their short time span on Earth too, which is very fascinating, really, because it just shows you how fast and how the internet has changed everyone's mindsets. And it's given the youth of America and the youth of the world really a stepping stone to freedom and to liberty and to finding out what the truth is in our governments. And I think the more you hang around youth and millennials, you'll find out pretty soon that they have no trust whatsoever in their government systems. And it's it's a very optimistic thing, because we can only go up from here. There's only an up from here, especially for the youth. Had the older generation, the baby boomers kind of screw everything up for everyone else, essentially. And it's so cool that everyone starting to become enlightened and getting involved in the political process, which, you have to stay optimistic and know that things will change if you put the work and the effort into it, and raise awareness, which in my past 4 years, I've seen that happen. I've seen people grow and their minds expand, and it's very a cool thing to see.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's absolutely beautiful, and like I said, inspiring. One thing I wanted to also ask you about, because I was kind of taken aback and shocked when you first told me that your show was something that you just kind of do as a hobby, because the way that I always pictured in my mind listening to the show is that you probably had your own little mini studio set up there with maybe a couple boom mics and a mixing board and all that stuff. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself. So that's just kind of what I was imagining. So I was surprised when you said that it was something you just kind of do as a hobby. Because your overall content and the way your show just kind of comes across just doesn't seem like that. So I wanted to ask you, what was it that inspired you to do what it is that you do? It was kind of the tipping point, because I know for me there was like a point where I was like, oh man, I had my views and that I would talk to people about it politically, and I was like, man, this sounds like something that would probably be good to do for a podcast, because I listen to a podcast. So I was just kind of curious if the same thing kind of happened for you, was along the same lines that you were noticing what was going on around you, and you were having conversations with people, and then you kind of decided that this would be a conversation better had with a larger audience potentially.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, yeah, because my podcast is really a hobby. I try to get people on whenever I can, and if I happen to stumble upon a cool guest, and I'll have him on, you know. But yeah, other than that, my podcast is complete bullshit, you know. It's complete bullshit. Don't take me seriously at all. But I try to take myself seriously. I did when I first started it, which was about a year and a half ago. I really was just bored, and I was kind of at this point where I was kind of depressed in my life. You know, I was smoking a lot of pot, and I was working all the time, and I just moved back from school, from my college town that I had lived in for 3 years. And when I lived in college, I really had no idea how the political process worked. I was kind of disconnected with it, like many college students. But when I came back from college, I moved in with my mom, and you know, just went back to work. And I just became it. I think it was about a month or two before I moved back from College Station here to here in my hometown. I kind of figured out who Ron Paul was. I think I stumbled upon a YouTube video or something that inspired me. I'm pretty sure it was a YouTube video of a Ron Paul video, and it just inspired me at a point where I was kind of down in the dumps. And I moved back that you know, those 2 months later, and I was just entrenched in these YouTube videos of, you know, Ron Paul talking on the congressional floor, and just all this stuff that started to make sense. You know, when you have that, it's kind of like the Matrix. The Matrix says in the movie, that thorn in the side of you that you've always, you know, kind of, or that thing in your thorn in your mind that you never knew what it was that bothered you.
Yep.
And that's what it was, you know. And I finally picked that thorn out, and I realized that what was wrong with me was because I had gotten in trouble by the cops. Like, I was arrested like 2 times in College Station. I went through the system, and I was so mad at the system. So Ron Paul kind of showed me that this is what people go through, how justice isn't served in our prison system, in our jailing systems, local and federal levels. And yeah, I kind of got enlightened into the whole libertarian aspect and how the 2-party systems were complete bullshit, and how they were all bullshitting us and screwing us over, especially the young people. And yeah, eventually I stumbled onto Joe Rogan's podcast somehow through the internet sphere, the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Right. And yeah, Rogan really he really woke me up to a lot more ideas and expanded my mind in ways Ron Paul was setting me up for, but kind of made perfect sense, you know. And so I was inspired by his podcast to do my own podcast. And at first, I was just talking to myself in my podcast and playing music and being sort of my own little DJ, you know, smoking pot in my garage, in my chill room or whatnot. And yeah, it just turned out to be something that was bigger. I wanted to take it up to the next step and have people on that were going to be like-minded, and eventually I started talking about politics and liberty and freedom and, you know, our government, and kind of merged into just trying to talk about everything, really. And I think that's what's important. If you're going to do a podcast, you've got to reach out there, and you've got to make sure that you're talking about everything, you know, all sorts of shit, you know, whether it's about squirrels or fucking raccoons or beer or McDonald's, to the government, you know, because it's all important. It all meshes together. But right. How did you get started? Yes.
Oh man, I want to. Just listening to you is fascinating, and with your background, you actually.
Well, hold on 1 second, Vin, because I don't want you to be confused right now. This section, my co-host Joseph. Did you guys already introduce
Werner? Oh yeah. Okay, so this is Joseph. Sorry. I'm like, I love Vince. This guy's great.
Wait a second, Rob's voice just changed dramatically. So this is my co-host Joseph Burns, who's talking to you now, just so you're not.
Well, I can sound like a bagel if you want. All right.
What's up, man?
Thanks, dude. All right, so Vince, you know, given your background, and I wanted to, man, I just got fire in my butt over this. One of the things, yeah, not the bad fire, the good one. Yeah, it's not him always.
That's good.
So, I teach law enforcement with personal training, tactical self-defense, etc. And, you know, that's just one of my backgrounds. So I get a lot of intel information, you know, as you build personal relationships with people, you know, they feel good to tell you what's going on, etc. And on the other side, I have a lot of friends who have done major time in prison.